Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to PWR today for Thursday morning, March 11th, 2021. The man they call Meathead. Holy smokes, we had a big night last night. We're going to talk about it in just a second. But first, let's talk about manscaped.com. Get you silky smooth, just like my head, my face, and, well, probably Matthew Thomas's everything. But manscaped.com, 20% off with PWR as the promo code. And then we've got collarandelbowbrand.com. They've got the free shipping on orders over 40, I believe. You got to check the website on that. Also, you can save an additional 10% with the promo code PWR360. Let's bring in Matthew Thomas. Good morning, Matthew. How you doing?
Good morning. Everything with the exception of my toe knuckles.
Toe knuckles. Do you know that because I'm a special kind of boy, I lick the windows in the bus. One of the first things I got my kids to say when they were growing up was,
Jerome
"Ow, my
Bettis?
pancreas."
Was that a Jerome Bettis reference?
No. It wasn't a Jerome Bettis. But one of the first things I got my daughter to say on cue, and I recorded, and in a cute, like 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old voice, "Ow, my pancreas." Like Pauly Shore. Some of the other things which kind of segued off of that is, "Ow, my seventh knuckle." Ow, my inner elbow crease.
Well, there you go.
I mean, because, if not anything, I mean, they're there to entertain, right?
Absolutely.
What is wrong with me? But anyway, let's talk about the big night that we had last night. We talked going into it yesterday morning. We've got a big night. You called it one of the most important dynamites, one of the most important dynamites in their very short history. And we talked about NXT literally having a takeover quality show on free TV. They did not disappoint. There was lots of business to be done last night. Let's first talk NXT, actually, instead of AEW. We will get to AEW. The reason we talk NXT is because William Regal promised us 2 groundbreaking, very important, very big, newsworthy statements, and he didn't fail us. These weren't, no heat on Dixie, but heat on Dixie. These weren't no Dixie Carter announcements, where it's the greatest thing that's ever going to happen, and it's, Ralphus. No, he had 2 announcements. First off, he announced that Takeover is back. Takeover is a 2-night event. One night, the Wednesday night show, will be on the USA Network. The other show, the Thursday night show, will be on the Peacock streaming network, which will take the place of WWE Network. Now, as far as PWR Fantasy Draft goes, because, that also involves us. We only thought we had 2 shows left. Here is a third. Night 1 does not count for points. Night 2 does, according to the rules set forth by the accounting firm at Dewey, Cheatham & Howe. Matthew Thomas, we speculated on this. We thought it would be a takeover-type show. I had said I hope it happens the day after WrestleMania because I wanted to get away from our draft, but here we are. 2-night event. Night 1 on the USA Network. Night 2 exclusively on the Peacock.
It's a first with it being 2 nights, much like WrestleMania this year. 2 nights for the second time. I'm really happy to see it coincide with WrestleMania weekend. It's a tradition. And, this past year we've gotten more accustomed to the takeover staggered from major pay-per-view events because you haven't had people traveling to areas for, major events. It's just another step that makes things feel a little bit more normal, even if we're not going to get this in front of people. It still makes that WrestleMania week feel a little more normal. And Wednesday and Thursday, was that what I saw?
Wednesday and Thursday. The Wednesday live show will be on the USA Network. The Thursday will be exclusively on the Peacock. Now, you and I talked off air before, and I literally just had a thought. What is the possibility that this is recorded live in front of the Thunderdome instead of in the CWC?
It's very possible. I think they're going to make some effort to make it feel a little bit different. Yeah. And, I can't help but think we had the WrestleMania ticket announcement, although there's not been a solid number set. You got to think they're going to keep pushing it as far as they can go up until, they've got to make a decision. I know it's not looking like there's a crowd or anything, but who knows? They might try to make it, so that they can actually get some people in there. Maybe that's why there's not being, committed to anything at this point. So, there's we can always hope, but the important thing is Takeover is on the horizon, and I think it's going to make the subsequent weeks of NXT all that more engaging because you're building to 2 nights of Takeover. So perhaps people that you would not necessarily see on the Takeover stage, they get a Takeover match. And I think it's going to make the weeks of NXT TV all that more important because at the end of the day, man, we got another 4 weeks after this, right? So I mean, you
Yeah.
got to get business done. And if you're going to make Takeover worthy matches for 2 nights, you've got to make these angles mean something. And we've got a very, kind of a wide open NXT title picture at this point. We've got the whole angle with the Undisputed Era. So there's a lot of stuff in motion, but there's a lot of, next steps and steps beyond that before we get a solid pay-per-view card. So NXT is going to most likely be doing a lot of business over the next 4 weeks.
Business, definitely business. Announcement number 2. William Regal was not happy with what happened in the Women's Tag Team Championship match between Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez and Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. So William Regal's got a table. He's got a cloth over it. Bam! NXT Women Tag Team Championship belts handed to the winners of the Dusty Cup tournament. Your thoughts on giving Kai and Gonzalez their own belts?
You've got a stacked women's division, and that is one of the biggest things that sets NXT apart from AEW. If we're still referring to them because of the same night for now as competition, that is their big differentiator. And you might as well embrace it. And in a lot of ways, I like the surprise and the shock value here of not necessarily leading the tournament with that. Not saying this is going to be a tournament to crown the first champions. You had the investment in the tournament anyway. I like that this was kind of a surprise and would lead into some compelling storytelling last night.
So, not only are they the first ever women's tag team champions, they were interrupted by Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart, who lost to them in the finals and said, you feeling tough? How about a match? William Regal makes it so, and there is a title match coming up tonight for the Women's Tag Team Championships. So now 3 title matches on a regular NXT on USA show. The first title match, Women's Champion Io Shirai survives Toni Storm. I absolutely love Toni Storm's look. She's been channeling the Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue look for a while. She looked like Theater of Pain Nikki Sixx with the black and white stripes and the one, breathe right underneath her eye, or eye paint, or whatever you want to call it. Your thoughts on Io and Toni Storm?
I liked it. I'm a big Toni Storm fan, and I think they tipped their hat a little bit when they started talking about how Io Shirai had never been able to get past Toni Storm. And the reason for this match became a little bit more clear. This is another hurdle that she needs to jump on her title reign. Where are we at as far as days of her reign at this point? We've got to be closing in on close to a year, don't we?
Yeah, we have to. I don't have that in front of me, but yes, I mean, she's been going through people. And later on in the night, to kind of speak to her, she comes right up to Raquel Gonzalez and says, I want you next.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the story that's being told with her. And my criticism of what they've done with her in this title reign is I feel like she's a good wrestler, and there's not much being given to us as far as personality or character outside of this. But I mean, I think the story they're telling now is her dominance, and I think you need to start looking at
it's a great story.
Looking at the length of the title reign, and I think that needs to start being built up, and that in and of itself, I mean, you're right, that is a story. And it kind of occurred to me tonight that, wow, she's had this title for a while, and just when you think somebody pops up that might be the person to end the reign, doesn't happen. And so I'd like to see them moving forward to start telling that story of dominance with her. And I mean, she's not It's not a Lesnar type of character where she's just destroying and squashing people. She's not a physically imposing person, but she manages to win. And this has been a long reign. So I think that that's what that story is.
So we also had Pete Dunne and Jake Atlas, kind of a squash. Honestly, Pete Dunne really kind of running over Jake Atlas. I like Pete Dunne. I like the Bruiserweight. I like what he was doing with the tag team champions. I have a very small problem with Pete Dunne, and small being the operative word.
Yeah.
When he's dressed, when he's in all his gear, he looks like this big bruising dude, right?
Yeah.
The singlet doesn't work for him, and he's a tiny guy. Very muscular, very technical, a very brutal wrestler, but the look's got to change up a little bit.
Well, and I think it's much more noticeable, since he has come back. I mean, the guy has leaned out quite a bit. I mean, he's in excellent shape. The dude is in tip-top shape, but I think that, the weight he's lost, where you do have more of that defined look now, it does make him look smaller. And just from an aesthetic standpoint, as far as believability, in his prior runs where he was a little bit bigger, I mean, he's still a small guy, but that, maybe not as lean look, but that more, having a little bit more muscle mass like he did prior, seems to be a little bit more believable than, what he's wrestling with now.
Okay, so women's tag team championship match, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. Your winners and new women's tag team champions of NXT, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. They had the belts for about an hour.
Yeah, and I'm fine with it. I think that makes a much more compelling story to those titles. I mean, you introduce it, you have your inaugural champions, but you also have what the interesting story now is you quintessentially can have two tag teams that can claim that they're the inaugural
one
champions.
Won the tournament, one is the champion.
Exactly. And I think that just really quick move does something for four people on the roster. And, what we saw later on tonight, you've got, some people foreseeably going in a singles direction. And I think now for Blackheart and Ember Moon, I think them as a tag team makes sense. They seem to have a really good chemistry together, and they're two top tier talents. And you can only have
technically Ember Moon came down. She was on Raw.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yep. So I think it's a good tag team, and I think that it makes NXT much more interesting and gonna help to fill those 2 nights of Takeover now with some women's tag team champions.
Let's talk Legado del Fantasma defeating the Grizzled Young Veterans. Story behind it is that the Cruiserweight champion, as he calls himself, the legitimate Cruiserweight champion, Jordan Devlin, is coming back to NXT next week. So obviously, the Cruiserweight champion in the house, the leader of El Legado del Fantasma. I'm spacing on his name right now, but he sends his boys out there, and they win the tag team match. But against Grizzly Young Veterans, there was interference by MSK coming out in the astronaut suits. Then you get Breezango coming out in the astronaut suits. I love the whole thing. Honestly, I thought it was fantastic, and we got to see the entrance. Dun 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 dun. I thought the whole show was great. The only thing was missing in the whole show, and we'll talk about the main in a second, was To the Moon.
Yeah. Oh, please tell me that dude's got to get involved with the astronaut gimmick. To the Moon, astronauts. You got to be kidding me, man. That's almost as good as your Paige Cage stuff.
Right. Paige and Cage versus Cage and Paige. Yeah, we got to have it. One other thing I want to talk about before we talk main here. Actually, 2 things. Imperium has offered Toothless Timmy and Grandpa Ciampa to join Imperium. Toothless Timmy and Grandpa Ciampa. What a great name for a tag team.
Oh, absolutely. No.
And it's not them. It's not Imperium calling them that. That's what Ciampa calls them. Toothless Timmy and Grandpa Ciampa. I also want to talk about L.A. Knight. Yeah, let me talk to you. Bronson Reed attacks him at the end of his promo, and it looks like L.A. Knight will have his first match next week. And that's not just a spoiler. It's a fact of life. It's going to be against Bronson Reed, and L.A. Knight has to go over.
The business that L.A. Knight can do in a minute and a half promo, this guy is an absolute stud. I mean, some of the best. Let me qualify this a little bit. When I say best promos,
let me talk to you.
Yeah, I'm not talking about meaningful promos or classic promos like Hard Times, Dusty Rhodes, that type of stuff. But I mean, as far as a sound clip of somebody talking for 2 to 3 minutes, somebody conveying confidence and personality, LA Knight is up there with anybody who's ever.
LA Knight? Can he come up with something else?
That's his name. I do too. But the thing of it is, with a name as ridiculous as that, he's made me not care.
I care a little, but trust me, if he wasn't as awesome as he was, I'd be ragging on his name.
He could be calling himself PP Time for all I care, and he's still going to get that shit over.
I guess, but yeah. I mean, damn. I hate that name. It's so terrible.
It's not good, man. Oh. It's not good.
Lawrence of Arabia Night? Is that what it is? All
right. I mean, yeah, I really wish they'd go ahead and just give it a little bit of a backstory.
Honestly, call Impact and ask him how much it's going to cost. That's what I want to know.
Not much. But I mean, you can give him a backstory. Say he's a former Arena League football player. He was an LA Knight.
I guess. Let's talk Maine. Finn Balor defeats Adam Cole to retain. Here's how the match went down. We know it was going to be an amazing match, and it was. But Kyle O'Reilly shows up riding the lightning with his jean jacket and his Metallica t-shirt. Distracts Adam Cole. Finn Balor gets the win. I absolutely love the end of the show. Because as Finn Balor is watching Adam Cole get his ass handed to him by Kyle O'Reilly, strips the undisputed wristband or armband off of him. They show Finn Balor standing there. I'm like, he's got to be standing there. He's got to be standing there. Where is he? Where is he? And Finn Balor says to me, as if he's listening to me, go, what took you so long? Boom, Karrion Kross. Show, go to black. The finish was perfect.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what I wanted for the build up to Mania, the build up to Takeover, and that's where we're getting. That's what makes sense. They protected Kross. Balor has been more consistent over the last year than just about anybody. I mean, these high caliber main event matches that Balor consistently delivers day in and day out. I mean, this NXT run, I think, has really reinvigorated a lot of people into Balor. It's given him that main event treatment, and this match was no exception. They got business done. They're building
lots of business.
Several stories here, and I mean, I really like the Balor Kross dynamic, because Balor, as quick and as a high flyer as he can be, he works a really, really solid ground game. And I think these two contrasting sizes and styles, it's going to be a really, really good match.
It's great. They can make this match go longer because Karrion Kross should be working slower.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you go, Balor and Cole, they're going to work fast the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So with Kross, he's supposed to be a bigger guy. He's supposed to work a big guy style, and hopefully that slows it down and we can get more psychology in this match.
And I like those contrasting styles, because the likelihood in Cole and Balor, I mean, they're two very similar styles. I think they can both go fast, they can both fly high, but they can work a very controlled, ground-based match as well too.
Yes.
But generally speaking, I like contrasting styles if both guys are, pretty good ring generals, because you get that mix, and to me, it's a better investment in the story. It's like, okay, they're not going to go spot for spot. It's going to be, how is this big, powerful guy? What's he going to do to this smaller, quicker guy? As a fan, if done right, I will take that style of match any day of the week.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk AEW Dynamite. Lots of business done on Dynamite as well. I need to preface this little review of Dynamite by saying, look, I know stuff happens, but that whole double audio happening over the QT Marshall promo throughout the entire damn match. Come on, TNT. This wasn't AEW. This was Turner Network. This was Turner Broadcasting. Be fucking better. I mean, Jesus Christ.
And it was unfortunate timing coming off of the heels of the pay-per-view, coming off of the
Right.
final segment of the pay-per-view. But I think, what you said makes a ton of sense. This is not AEW doing this. This is, I mean, you were clearly listening
to basketball.
To basketball, And at first, I thought they just had the entrance music mic'd up too high.
Everybody thought that because it started in the interview in the back. I'm like,
yeah.
Did they play their music too early?
And I'm like defense, huh? That's some shoe squeaking. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
And you weren't hearing Dax Harwood, you were hearing Hardwood.
Right. Yeah, there you go. But come on, man. Be better. I mean, because again, and we're going to talk about this as well, the whole joking over the finish to Revolution. I mean, we had about 3 promos to talk about it. We see what they're going to do with the failed finish, and they're going to joke over the top of it. I understand. This was a good show.
Yeah.
But that stuff has to be fixed. All right?
Yeah.
So, Meathead, let's talk about it. Let's just go right into the match. Ross, Shivani, and Excalibur calling it. Matt Jackson against Ray Phoenix with Pac. It was a good, solid match. I mean, Matt Jackson with the win, obviously, but those two teams are going to meet up at some point for a tag team title match. Now, here's what I found interesting. I didn't know that the number one contenders for the title, or the winner of that match, between the Bucks and Death Triangle, or Lucha Brothers, or whatever it is, Death Triangle, we're going to face the number one contenders after, but it's the retired Christopher Daniels and then Kaz. So,
yeah, I'm glad to see him enjoying his retirement. He looked like he was relaxing. I mean, he's in Florida.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's probably got a condo in Boca Raton. He comes back out. He's working at the old ShopRite, to make a couple bucks while his Social Security comes in.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly reasonable. Some part-time Walmart. Do they still have Walmart greeters? I heard they discontinued or
during
got
COVID,
rid of them.
I think they got it removed because all the Walmart greeters were the highest risk.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, prior to COVID, I heard that they were pulling back on the Walmart greet.
Well, I mean, because put the Walmart greeter in a position where you get a and I don't want to. I'm not saying I'm on anyone's side, but get one that's anti-masker.
Yeah.
Greeter into an anti-masker.
The greeter is the first line of defense.
Right.
It's like, I know your job description prior to all of this was to greet people. Now we need you to greet people and do some enforcement.
That's right. Hazard pay never mind. Let's continue on. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley sitting in the back having drinks over one of those little open pits. I like this promo.
Yeah.
Them talking about how they came back to being friends again. And Jon Moxley looks happy to have a friend. Looks like he's happy to have somebody on his side. Now we're down to just technically Adam Page not having any friends, but he's got the Dark Order following him around now. So who's left, Matthew, to be solo?
I think that they did. They did about as good of a retcon job here as they could have. Initially, I guess in Moxley's promo after the pay-per-view went off, it was, well, Kenny Omega makes a shitty bomb.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. I had said yesterday I wouldn't mind Tony Khan or somebody saying, hey, look, stuff happens. This is this. Eddie Kingston made me buy what he was selling last night. And I will say this much too. I think there's something there with Kingston and Moxley together.
Oh, yeah.
Both of those guys felt as comfortable as I've seen them on AEW television. And it made sense. My biggest thing with Moxley so often is I don't know I still have a hard time figuring out the character. He looked comfortable here. Both of them look comfortable. They look like they fit together. This was probably the most that I have enjoyed Moxley's persona during his entire AEW run, and same goes for Kingston.
And I continue to enjoy Kingston because I've liked Kingston since he showed up.
Yeah, this felt really, really solid.
And this is foreshadowing into our review here. He did reference the Butcher and the Blade.
Yeah.
that he had stuff to deal with them as well.
And I think the thing of it is, when Kingston burst onto the scene, it was back when Cody had the title and he was
Open
doing
challenge.
his Invitational. I think people just wanted they've wanted to cheer for Kingston the whole time. He's got a good underdog story. Remember, he cut the promo about having to borrow shoes or something, wrestling boots or gear.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a really, I think people naturally like this guy. I mean, he does great heel work, but people naturally like this guy. And this is our first real reason to do that, to cheer him.
Moxley came up with the best line. Eddie, I think Impact paid for that bomb. Now, Kenny, when you open it up in the middle, did it say Acme on the side?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay.
That's all we need. I mean, what the best you could hope for here was, don't insult the fans' intelligence, and they didn't do that. There was a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff to the fact that wink, wink, we know what's going on here, but they didn't just destroy the storyline aspects of it as well too. So last night was pretty much all you need, and I think you can move on and reset.
Let's move on. Yep. Speaking of moving on, Cody Rhodes had a match against Seth Gargas and finished his match quickly. Now Tony starts the interview, but Penta El Zero, I practiced it earlier. Miedo interrupted him in the Spanish announce team and used Alex. Oh my God, I didn't know Alex's last name was that either. Abrahantes as a translator. I thought it was good. I thought Penta El Zero didn't do a bad job. He goes, Cody, let me talk in your language. And then he went back to his Spanish. He says, I'll tell you what, I'm going to hurt you so bad you won't be able to pick up your baby. And it's go time. And that felt hot to me. It felt like a good promo.
100%. And we're off to the races. And that's what really
literally, because Cody ran out of the ring, jumped the rope.
And that's what really felt great about this whole Dynamite was the fact that, it felt like a legitimate show after a pay-per-view show where you reset a lot of things and you get a lot of new feuds, which I've not always felt that way from AEW. The shows after a pay-per-view in a lot of cases, they have a habit of week after week of having some matches that don't necessarily lead to anything. But I thought every match on last night
had business.
It served a purpose to advance storyline narratives.
Sure. And speaking of advancing storyline, Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy were at the arcade and said, please, Miro, give us one match. And if we lose, I'll be your butler forever. But my buddy Orange has a good idea. How about we put all these arcade games in ringside and we put you through them and then we break you. So Judy yelled at Orange, like, dude, you didn't even put any coins in there. You're just sitting there.
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
And hey, keep in mind how good the parking lot brawl was last year.
Yeah, I remember it. That was the Santana Ortiz. So after Sting's successful return in his first match since 2015, live interview, the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer, with a couple great words. I don't need a ladder match to tell you I'm the face of the Revolution. And to tell you what, you're not going to give me time? I'm going to take time. And then Tony obviously said, Sting's time is right here. I love Jake Roberts not being able to pronounce. He goes, we'll see you around, Stanger. Stanger? Who's Stanger?
That's who he was talking to.
So, little something building there between Lance Archer and Sting, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I think this is that's how you use a Sting. I mean, Darby's getting a nice, not just Darby, but I mean, everybody that was involved in that match is getting a nice little run. Even Taz's son. I mean, he did kidnap Taz's son and put him in a body bag. So I mean, he's getting something from it. That's a good, really solid use of Sting.
Dynamite debut for All Ego Ethan Page taking on Lee Johnson with QT Marshall. This is where it happened. In the backstage promo, all of a sudden, boom, the second audio feed started playing over the top of it. It went 7-8 minutes in there. I mean, dude, somebody's got to be working in the truck and going, what the hell is that? Do you hear that? And here's the thing. During the commercials, it wasn't playing. It was playing on the live feed to TNT or from TNT.
And it was playing when they came back from commercial as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Surprised me. Yeah. And out of all this, I felt bad for Ethan Page because, I mean, this was, he was brought in as a surprise at the pay-per-view. This is the first Dynamite feature. And it's just kind of, I feel like a lot of the match was just lost and people trying to figure out what's going on here.
Who knows? Now, Paige wins the match. Now Paige is backstage talking to Alex Marvez. And the return, Matthew, you texted me while you were watching this. We've got some snappers.
Yes.
Well, snapper.
Yes.
Everybody loves to ride a snapper. So.
Oh my goodness! I mean, we've seen nothing of the snapper brand after. I mean, this was back when Brody Lee was still alive, and we had the celebration there, and I mean, it makes you wonder.
They all went for a ride on it too. That was fantastic.
Are they paying for an ad every 6 months? Is that the advertising they bought?
Possibly. At least it's not like Impact Wrestling where we're watching dick ads every day.
until Frank Thomas shows up backstage.
Right, exactly.
So honestly, if that is the case, and Snapper's gone in and said, "Hey, product placement once every 6 months," I think it's genius because it was so obscure when we first saw it. We've been talking about that for months, as far as the Dark Order lawn care business, and it was never really explained. And then we got Snapper popping up again. So I mark out, and I think I'm conditioned now to every time I see a Snapper appear for no reason whatsoever on Dynamite to just really, really enjoy it. And what's been said under the various incarnations of this program is, if you overuse a special effect, it no longer becomes special.
Correct.
And Snapper, they understand that. Snapper understands advertising psychology. And you know what? I think if they're looking to get into the wrestle game, we might have a new advertising spot available on this here program.
Because nobody loves a snapper like the man they call Meathead.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. I mean, it looks like a pretty fancy piece of equipment.
Oh yeah, dude. The snapper, you really got to know how to work them. So the interview with Shivani and Christian Cage didn't actually happen. Callis and Kenny Omega came out, and there's 4 girls with brooms now, and they look like they really know how to use the broom. Here's the thing that made me laugh the hardest. Kenny Omega laid down, and he's yelling to Kingston, "Come on, jump on top of me, 69 me, it'll be okay."
Yeah, that's a thing that he said, which it made me actually go back and watch the finish again to the pay-per-view just to see how anatomically correct he was.
Yeah. So again, they poked fun at the finish. It is what it is. Let's move on from it. Good Brothers came out as well, wearing their collar and elbow branded gear. Christian Cage's music began to play, and he walked out and down to the ring. Here's the thing. Eddie obviously took a shot at Omega. Christian came out. Christian did the old school wrestling move. He moved slowly, took his time.
Yep.
Went to Omega, picked up the belt, ducked it, out of there. He was ready to give him the unprettier. Callis pulled him out, and that's it. And he held the belt in his hands. That was fantastic. This is, by the way, where I heard the first slip up by commentary, not by Jim Ross. I believe it was Excalibur said the wrong name.
Oh, what did he say? I didn't catch it.
It was either Paige or Brian. It was one of those. I'm telling you, they've got a problem on their hands.
It's happening already.
Yeah, there was a slip up in there. They've got a problem on their hand until they get that Paige Cage versus Cage. We just got to get it out there.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Are they teasing us for something that's imminent, or do you see? Because what I want from this is instead of Christian jumping immediately into that title picture, he hasn't had a match in the company. They use the win-loss records. He's
Correct.
Going in with the moniker, talking about how good of a worker he is. I want to see the guy work his way up. I want to let that be the story. He wants that title, but he's not going to get a title shot. And I think that plays to, Omega and Callis' character. It's like, oh, you won a title because you've got a name and you've never won a match.
Work your way up the ladder.
Yeah, yeah.
This is AEW, pal. We don't just hand out title shots.
Exactly. I like that story.
Okay. I don't like this next match. Hikaru Shida, Ryo Mizunami, and Thunder Rosa against Native Beast Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero, Maki Ito, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. I still enjoy Britt Baker, DMD. She's a star. She's an absolute star. Thunder Rosa, an absolute star. Nyla Rose, not my favorite, not something for me, but a star. Maki Ito is a clown show. I'm sorry, folks. I got to put it out there. It just is. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, the women's division,
is a clown show as well
right now, and it's getting it's getting a segment, a show, and this is also where now you're getting in a lot of your comedy on the show. I don't think there has been, and again, this is not talking about Dark or any of the other, anything that AEW is doing outside of Dynamite. I think you've got to go back to the WWE Divas era before you have a product that has really kind of fumbled the women's division like this. TNA wasn't doing it back in the day. They had the knockouts and everything.
TNA, the knockouts are really what led the charge.
Yeah, everything since the end of the Divas era, you're getting multiple segments of show with female talent. It's being outright prioritized, in certain shows. Now, I will say this, after this was not good tonight, but I did like.
Look at what the main event for next week's AEW Dynamite is.
Yeah, I like what I saw with that. So is this them course correcting? And I like the fact they're doing it with Britt Baker. They're doing it with Thunder Rosa, which I think are two talents that you can really hang your hat on as AEW and claim it as your talent there. So not a fan of what they did tonight, but hopefully they are getting the picture, and that's going to be. Is that the first women's match to main event a Dynamite at all? It
possibly,
maybe not, but there haven't been many of them.
But this is the match that you should have. Britt Baker, DMD, strong heel. Thunder Rosa, strong face. So I enjoy it. I normally wouldn't talk about this next segment because it was just Private Party and Matt Hardy backstage, but there was business here.
Yeah.
You heard Kingston say it earlier. He had to talk to Butcher and Blade. Matt Hardy would like to introduce you to his new signings, the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. They are now on the Hardy Party. Your thoughts?
I think it's a good way to feature Butcher and the Blade and Bunny because we've seen them pretty much since the dawn of Dynamite, but we really don't know a lot about them. We don't know exactly what the dynamic is, what their motivation is. Like I guess there's one of them's a literal butcher. Because we have seen him cut meat in the back.
Butcher's Butcher's the guy with the big mustache.
Yeah,
and the
so let's learn a little bit more about him. What motivates him? What motivates him?
Blade wears a dominatrix mask.
A hood. Yeah. Let's learn about their dynamic. Let's learn about how long has he been in the meat industry? What kind of hobbies do they have? What's the dynamic?
I've been in the meat industry since 1995 when I got the name.
So let's get some backs, but no, I think it makes sense because they're there, but they're not really given much story wise.
It's refreshing for them, really. Even though they never got pulled off TV, it's a refresh.
And I like the contrast between them and Private Party. They don't look like they got a lot in common, but who knows? I mean, maybe he can show Private Party how to slice some hams or something.
It ain't no party like a private party because a private party don't stop. Let's talk TNT title. I know we're going long today, folks, but again, business was done on two different shows, 2-hour programs, so we still got more to go here. Darby Allin defending against the Face of the Revolution winner and the Sonic the Hedgehog ring, Scorpio Sky. Handshakes at the beginning of the match. Solid match all the way through. Tried for a handshake at the end. Scorpio Sky turned and put him in an ankle hold, and they had to call 5-6 referees out there to get him off.
I like it. I mean, that's a story in and of itself. Scorpio Sky, he won the match, and now he is a bad guy. That in and of itself is a story to tell. The only thing I did not like here, the announcer specifically pointed out the fact that he left through the heel tunnel.
Yeah, didn't like it. Did you see what tunnel he went out?
Yeah, and I just, it's a thing. It's symbolic, but in kayfabe, I don't necessarily know that it needs to be addressed because I feel like it's always been there more for symbolic reasons. Like, oh, So does that lead to the bad guys' dressing room? So are we to believe that they all do change together?
Correct.
I felt like it was unneeded.
Okay, the main event segment. The Inner Circle's War Council. When any great army needs to change the course in the middle of battle, they hold a war council. The decline we've had in the past few weeks is easy remedied. It's time for a new outlook. Maybe it's time to introduce a new member into the Inner Circle. Out there in the ring is Jake Hager. It's Santana Ortiz. It's MJF, and it's Jericho. Inconspicuous by his absence is Wardlow. As this whole thing's going on back and forth, here comes Sammy Guevara through the face tunnel. Here comes Sammy. It says, Chris, listen to me. I've been with you since day one. You have to see the footage. Boom, 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 boom. It's a setup. MJF gets pushed into the corner. Shut up, you stupid idiot. On behalf of Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle, your ass is fired as Jericho shoved MJF to the mat and is about ready to line him up with his bat. He goes, hear me out, Chris. I swear I didn't want to take over your group because I was too busy building my own. Bam, lights. Bam, lights back. FTR, Tully, Wardlow, and Shawn Spears in the ring when the lights turn back on. Harwood smashed a glass bottle on Jake Hager. And then, I don't know, I didn't see any blood on his hand at the end, but if you watch him hit him with the bottle, he literally looked at his hand and was like, ah!
Yeah.
So, great turn. Great finish to the show. Inner Circle's group laying just wasted. Kind of like Inner Circle laid waste to everybody on the first ever episode of Dynamite. Matthew, your thoughts on the whole group and the way it went down?
I really like the fact that you were baited and switched multiple times here. You thought Inner Circle was turning on Jericho, then they turn on MJF, and you think that's going to be it. And then we get this new stable, and I know AEW is stable heavy now, but I am all for stables that make sense. This one makes sense. And what it does more than anything else, it puts MJF as the head of that stable. So now he is
possibly the top heel right now.
Yes. And we got back to that serious MJF. I've enjoyed the interaction with him and Jericho.
The whole beatdown, he sat on the corner turnbuckle and just stared.
Mm-hmm. And, MJF is that character. You're doing a really, really smart thing in pairing him with FTR. He's had Wardlow as well, Shawn Spears, and that group with Tully. It's not a group that you would necessarily have expected to be together, but by having this really, really serious muscle behind him too, it makes a ton of sense. And again, we've got, MJF on that foreseeable equal footing with Jericho right now. Jericho's got a stable, MJF's got a stable. And I think what that symbolizes for MJF is huge. And we're back to, very, very solid heel MJF right here. I think it was a great move. And I think this was really solid business they did last night. And I look forward to, I think this really.
That's the key. I look forward to.
Yeah. And you look at what you got next week. You've got the matches announced, but you have also got angles evolving that you're looking forward to. You've got whatever Christian Cage is going to do. You've got the whole MJF thing. You've got the private party, Matt Hardy, Butcher and the Blade type of thing.
Interesting.
They're giving you substance. They're giving you substance now to look forward to in the upcoming weeks, as opposed to just relying more on the very good in-ring wrestling. Now you have those angles that really, all the angles that have kind of come out of the show last night. Mm-hmm. I think I made the statement they had to really do a good job. This was probably the second most important Dynamite they've had, and they delivered. Both companies delivered. I think that while we've had these two shows opposing each other on Wednesday nights, last night may have been the best night of overall wrestling for both shows that we've had since we've had these two going head to head.
That's a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Literally a year and a half, because I think Dynamite debuted in September, right?
Yeah, and I want to say this for AEW too. It's not just how great of a product a company can put out; it's how they rebound from the setbacks. And I think AEW had some setbacks on Sunday.
Hell, they had a setback last night with that terrible audio.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're coming out of Sunday. We're coming out of the technical difficulties they had last night, talking about how solid of a show it was. So a bunch of credit for AEW for being able to, just keep moving forward and keep moving you know, keep raising the bar and giving us something to talk about positive coming out of Dynamite. And I think we definitely got that. And you look at the AEW landscape coming out of last night versus coming out of the pay-per-view, things have dramatically changed. There's a lot of things that just were not there prior to the pay-per-view or after the pay-per-view that are on the horizon in AEW now. So really solid job by both companies.
What a night. It's one of those nights that we've been hoping for in the last couple of years since we've had the head-to-head on Wednesday night. What a night. That's a lot of information. We went 47 minutes strong here, Matthew. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to talk about what's happening on SmackDown on Friday. We're also going to be talking about, what's coming up next. What is the next big WWE announcement? We are just over a week away from Fastlane, which is going to set us up to WrestleMania. Plus now we have Takeover the week before WrestleMania. We got a lot of, this is the season. We enjoy this time of year. This is it. So for Matthew Thomas, I'm the man they call Meathead. Hey, thanks for stopping by. So long, everyone.